ironically, what the American people seem to want him to be is a celebrity or a king, not a manager. They want him to snap his fingers and make everybody in the country wear masks, even though he has no authority to do it. They want him to fix this right now by ignoring law. They want him to do things without consulting Congress that seem good in the moment, but will set a terribly bad precedent down the road. I'm Dr. Duke, and this is Constitution Corner. Well, we always like to expand our constitutional discussions to incorporate various aspects of the Constitution that may not be spelled out specifically, topics that arise from the abandonment and the abuse of our constitutional republic. And today I'd like to talk about one that I think is not being talked about enough. The American people and the founding fathers were very prescient in what they did when they put together this Constitution, the three branches of government, very narrowly defining what each branch was able to do, making sure there were checks and balances. And what I am especially impressed with when I go back and read the founding documents is how they handled the chief executive, the president. They wouldn't have phrased it this way, the founders, but this is effectively what they did. They wanted to have a chief executive officer who was a manager, not a politician necessarily, not a celebrity. They wanted somebody who was good at managing, not somebody who was going to govern in the sense of passing laws, ruling on cases, having a lot of power to change the status quo. And so over the years, we really, in the first 150 years of the American Republic, benefited from that. We had men whose job it was to oversee the right running of the country. The president had his very limited duties, right? His job as the entire federal government's job, of course, is to protect borders, to deal with enemies foreign and abroad, to deal with trade overseas. Those things are part and parcel of what federal government does and what certainly a president does. But we've morphed into a situation, we've morphed into a culture where we expect our presidents to be kings. And you know how you know that's true before we even get into the nuts and bolts of the argument? Is look at how the presidents travel. Now, I realize it's a dangerous world, and I realize that there are a lot of bad actors in the world. But whenever a president of the United States goes to any American city, forget overseas, whenever he goes to an American city, there's these huge entourages. They commandeer parts of the freeways and highways and shut them down. They close traffic off on inner city streets. This carousel, this caravan, this royal motorcade, for a lack of a better way of describing it. Presidents travel in what we used to call royal style. I remember when Michelle Obama was the first lady, and she actually would go on separate vacations from her husband. She would take her two daughters, and they would rent out entire hotels or entire top floors of hotels. And you had this incredible retinue. We've mentioned before the first lady's staff, how complicated that's become. 20, 25, 26 different advisors and secretaries and calendar planners that the first ladies have at their disposal. And so this has really more, besides the cosmetic look of this, besides the frills and the pomp and the ceremony, which is entirely unbecoming what the founding fathers thought their chief executive would be. When it comes to policymaking, it's a huge problem. Donald Trump, ironically, for all of his grandiosity and his flashy wealth and his outspoken personality, Donald Trump, up until certainly the rise of the COVID virus, you could say, he governed this country as a manager. It's one of the reasons that people, I think, gave him a chance. People voted for him. Put somebody in the office who knows how to protect, oversee businesses, somebody theoretically who knows how to stabilize economies, to do what's needed to make economies function better. Donald Trump, up until the COVID virus, was doing a fantastic job. Unemployment was at record lows for blacks, for women, for Hispanics. People were working. Real wages, money was going. Private salaries were going up. People were doing well. There was a huge fall off on the rolls of food stamps. In fact, the Food and Drug Administration, the Agricultural Department was griping that there weren't enough people to take food stamps. they were going to have to give some of that money back, or heaven forbid, their budgets might be slashed for the following year if they couldn't find people to pawn off these Whig cards to. So Donald Trump was managing. When it comes to the border, one of the few things the federal government has a mandate to do is protect border. Trump was doing his level best to do that, despite a hostile Democrat Congress and a sketchy Republican Senate in terms of how many of them would stand behind it. He still was managing to make some progress on the border. So when you think about how the Founding Fathers envisioned what the president would be, they had it right, we have it wrong. And it's terribly ironic that Donald Trump actually is being pilloried now. He's losing tremendous support, if you can believe these bogus polls. He's polling badly, if you can believe that, because ironically, what the American people seem to want him to be is a celebrity or a king, not a manager. They want him to snap his fingers and make everybody in the country wear masks, even though he has no authority to do it. They want him to fix this right now by ignoring law. They want him to do things without consulting Congress that seem good in the moment, but will set a terribly bad precedent down the road. The real irony here is that Donald Trump, the celebrity, is a better manager as a president than the so-called constitutional lawyer Barack Obama was, and with all of his drama, acted more like a king, right? And so it's a weird world we live in. But let's get back to the idea that Trump started with, that it doesn't matter who's in the office. The person in the office must govern and manage, not create laws, not decide cases, and not rule by fiat. This has been Liberty News Hour. As always, you can go to thenewamerican.com and jbs.org for more information on these topics, as well as more shows.